From McFarlane Toys, their DC Multiverse line, and their Batman and Robin wave, we're finishing up the set with Robin and Batgirl. Now, Batman and Robin, of course, is considered the worst Batman movie of all time, one of the worst superhero movies of all time, though, let's be honest, there's been a lot of modern superhero movies to give Batman and Robin a run for its money in that regard. This is nonetheless a Batman movie I grew up with, and I'll be honest, and I'll stick by this to the day I die. The problem with this movie weren't the casting, and it weren't the designs of the characters. Like, there's obviously stuff here that doesn't work. I'm looking at the bat nipples, of course. But even the casting of this Batgirl and this Robin, I think, could have been fine with a better script, with better direction, yada yada yada, general actor bootlicking as I always do. But with all of that said, I'm excited because not only does this complete the wave, but it's also going to complete my Mr. Freeze. And the one character from the Batman and Robin movie that I will stick by was done justice was Mr. Freeze, even with Arnold Schwarzenegger voicing, or rather acting, as Mr. Freeze. So we're going to check out Robin, then Batgirl, look at the wave as a whole, and then Mr. Freeze himself. Getting Robin out first, and I gotta say, I like this a lot. The head sculpt, I think, is very solid, captures the actor well. That said, I do remember him being a bit more blonde than brunette. I could be wrong, though. I really do enjoy the Robin logo the movie gave. It's very similar to the modern Nightwing logo. I like how it continues down here, give a little bit of red to this otherwise entirely black design. I will say, I'm not big on this being a Robin costume. That said, add a little bit of blue on here. This would have been one hell of a Nightwing costume. And then, of course, you have the little bat logos sculpted here on the boots. A very subtle reminder, as alongside the belt, that he is indeed the second banana to Batman. Kind of a running theme throughout the movie is Robin feeling as though he needs to be able to go out on his own and be respected, which, to be fair, you're a 20-year-old man. You could just do that. It helps that this is just a really well done figure, even better than the Batman. The joints all feel a lot tighter, you have a great range of articulation, ball joint at the head, universal at the shoulder, you have a uppercut rotation, you have a double jointed elbow, you have a universal at the wrist, two separate diaphragm joints that work in tandem together, it's like butter. You have a universal at the hip, a double joint at the knee that's just a touch stiff but not too stiff to use, and a universal at the ankle. He feels so much better than the Batman did in this wave, which is great because that was my big complaint with that Batman, is I didn't like messing with him. Now, of course Mr. Freeze is the Build-A-Figure of this line. Alongside him, though, you get all these random ice pieces. You got two with Batman, you got two with Robin. And I couldn't figure out what they were supposed to be. I was like, oh, are you supposed to put that onto Mr. Freeze? I think this is supposed to be frost for your characters. So let me figure out how I can probably do this. So maybe if I put... I can see the clamps, how it's supposed to work. Okay. That feels like it's supposed to be on an arm. But how on an arm? Oy, Jesus. It would have been great if they had, made a little, diagram for how you're supposed to put these on. Because it's so clear they're supposed to go on. I just have no idea how. Maybe there? Maybe there? Okay, that kind of fits on the knee. Yeah, that kind of fits on the arm. This kind of fits on the hand. And... there. we're gonna say that's... It's really dumb. And I'm probably not figuring this out, but there's not a lot of indication as to what you're supposed to do with these pieces. Even if it's like, oh, I can figure out it's supposed to go on Batman and Robin, how does it go on Batman and Robin? I'm looking at this piece in particular, that really looks like it should go on an arm, but if it went on an arm, it would be going at a bad angle, and it can't get on the figure that way, and it wouldn't go on that way. I wish, they had put a little diagram, just said, oh, look what you can do to Batman and Robin, because right now this is all just wasted plastic to me, and I'm not big on these frosted pieces, I'll be honest. Getting Batgirl out of the box, and I'll be honest, this was a bit of a letdown. After the Batman was okay, and the Poison and Ivy and Robin were great, I was really hoping that Batgirl would blow me away. This is just really rough. The head sculpt looks fine. Doesn't really look like the actor all that well, but I mean, it does look fine. The cape is back to the normal stiff Multiverse cape. I hate this cape. The Batman and the Robin had a more rubbery cape, so let me show you this, right? See, that doesn't budge at all, but let me pull Robin back in here. That's so much more flexible and so much easier to work with in terms of your posing. So there's that. Wearing heels, accurate, but small feet means this figure does not stand up. You have to use the base. The overall look of the figure is so drab. It's very similar to Batman. It's just all black, and it's a glossy black, I guess, but it's not much. The articulation's fine. All the usual points for a Multiverse figure, but because of the lack of a good standing base, it's all kind of worthless. Alongside that, the figure's joints are incredibly stiff, and not all that fun to mess with. Batgirl could have been a real hidden gem. Instead, I can understand if this is the figure that doesn't wind up selling all that well. That said, it'll probably sell just fine because this is, of course, a Build-A-Figure wave for Multiverse, and the Build-A-Figure, well, he might just be something special. The whole reason I was excited in this wave was for this Mr. Freeze Build-A-Figure. And I do have some nitpicks. Let me just get these out of the way now, right? 1. This head sculpt. It looks kind of like Arnold, but at the same time at some angles it looks a little bit awkward. It's a decent head sculpt, just not a perfect one. 2, the figure is really drab looking. It could have used a paint wash, it could have used a darker material. It's too shiny. Like, there's a gunmetal silver used for the head sculpt. If that was the color of the body, perfect. But right now it just looks a little bit too toy. That said, this is really good. That head sculpt, again, like the eyes are bloodshot, the face is blue. Even though it doesn't look exactly like Arnie, it looks close enough. I love the head sculpt. You have good articulation, universal shoulder, single joint elbow. You have a universal at the wrist, though it is impaired by that gauntlet. Good diaphragm joints, universal at the hip, a good knee, only single joint, and these big clonking feet allowing you to get him into some wonderful poses. The ice gun, also a bit boring, but at least it's sculpted well, looks just like it did in the movie, with an optional ice blast that you can just pop in there. Looks really cool. I love how it's translucent here and then builds into a more solid blue. The overall look and feel of this figure is wonderful. I definitely think that between the really good Poison Ivy and Robin, the acceptable Batman, and even the so-so Batgirl, this Mr. Freeze makes the wave worth it. It helps that the wave itself was pretty decent. Only one clunker, which, then again, 4 figures, so that means 75% good, but hey, Mr. Freeze. Overall, I think this was a solid enough wave. Some definite issues, but nothing just absolutely devastating. In terms of how I would rank these figures, in all honesty, I think I would put Robin first. Then, honestly, probably Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy really surprised me with just how good that figure was. Then Mr. Freeze, Batman, distant number 4, and then Batgirl, bringing up the rest. The standouts of this wave really were the villains. Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy are so eye-catching, so different, so great to add to the shelf. Batman, Batgirl, and Robin are all just a little too samey. I think a big reason as to why I like that Robin, besides it just being a better feeling figure, is that it's a better looking figure. That hit of red really does help. So, overall, if I could change anything, I wish there were better decos given to Batgirl and Batman. I think that would have really brought the entire wave up, but as is, this was a perfectly good set. Not as good as the Titans wave, but still definitely one of the better waves Multiverse has ever put out.